Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to break down one of the best and most controversial supplements out there on the market today, MK-677 from SwissChems.is. I have on today, and we're interviewing Tony Huge. Tony, welcome.
Enhanced Rob.
What's up, guys? So we really wanted to do a video where we took the knowledge that we have and all the questions and all the comments that we always get on social media about this supplement and really do a full MK-677 breakdown. So here we go, MK-677 breakdown from SwissChems.is. Now, Tony, there's a lot to cover in this video, and we're going to try to get as much as we can into one video. So everybody doesn't really have to just go around and beat around the bush and look up 20 different videos on this product where they can kind of get a whole entire overview and everything they need to know based off of one video. That's the goal of these videos, and that's the best that we're going to try to do on this. So when it comes to MK-677, we're talking about growth hormone, and we're talking about growth hormone from the body. So what exactly is growth hormone, and how does it work in the human body?
Growth hormone is natural. It's a hormone responsible for us growing from a child into an adult. Our growth hormone levels are going to be very high when we're developing as a child. And as we get older, into our old age, then it decreases a lot, almost to nothing. But what we found is when we supplement with more growth hormone, then we have a lot of the benefits of our childhood, which is we can regrow, we can rehabilitate our bodies, have faster recovery, end up sleeping more. So it's a critical hormone, and something that as we get older, we need to revisit whether we should be supplementing with it.
Correct. And a growth hormone comes from the pituitary gland in the brain, and human growth hormone is secreted from the anterior pituitary gland. You have a posterior and an anterior, and it comes from the posterior and pituitary gland in the brain. Now, how exactly does growth hormone work on building muscle?
Well, its primary purpose is not to build muscle, and the reason why it's so high in our childhood is to grow everything in our body. So it's not specific to growing muscle, but it does grow and repair muscle. And if you work out really hard, then that damaged muscle requires repair, and the growth hormone causes your body to repair it faster and more completely. So when you're damaging muscle, the goal is to send a message to your muscle that it's not strong enough to survive, and it needs to get stronger and bigger to survive. And the growth hormone causes the muscle to be able to get even bigger and recover even faster. So it definitely does grow muscle. It's not its primary purpose. Its primary purpose is just growth and recovery of many things in the body.
So how exactly does growth hormone aid in recovery? Exactly. You said that it's a really good tool with recovery. Now, what have you seen personally when it comes to recovery with growth hormone when using growth hormone?
So if it's from a workout, we're talking about recovery, then let's say normally it takes someone 4 days to recover from the workout. And with more higher growth hormone levels, it takes them 3 days to recover. And this is significant because it could be like a 25% increased rate of recovery, which means you could train the muscle that more frequently. I mean, if someone's training too frequently, they're training before their muscle is completely grown to its potential from that workout. But if they add growth hormone in, then all of a sudden they can actually recover faster before the next workout. And then for injury recovery, which could be like a joint, tendon, ligament, anything like that, it also expedites the recovery process and helps you recover more completely. Like, it's not just recovering faster, but when someone's injured, sometimes they only recover 90%, and they're carrying around with them all these little injuries that never fully recovered. We noticed if we increase growth hormone levels, we actually completely recover. And then growth hormone is a parent peptide that breaks down into many other peptides, and each one of these other different peptides have different properties, and a lot of these subpeptides also have healing properties on specific parts of the body. So overall, it's healing everything. Sometimes the growth hormone directly doing it, and sometimes some of these subpeptides that it breaks down into.
So that's pretty significant. If you could get a 25% increase in recovery with your workouts and your growth, like that's huge. I know me personally, when I supplement human growth hormone, my recovery is 10 times better. I'm not, you and I are around the same age. Great time, in my opinion, to really supplement growth hormone, because it starts to tail off, especially when you get into your late 30s, your 40s, it kind of just mainstreams. Where, like you said, when you're between 10 and 20 years old, it's really peaking and reaching its
Yeah.
peak.
If someone's 18 years old, their growth hormone's pretty high already, their recovery is already really high. Taking more growth hormone is going to help them recover faster. But the most significant difference is if someone's like 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, the older you get, and then you introduce growth hormone, then you'd be like, oh my gosh, I feel like
Correct.
I'm young again. Like I'm
Yep.
recovering from workouts so quickly and I feel so good. So the older you are, the lower your growth hormone levels, the more significant you're going to feel increasing your growth hormone levels, although increased growth hormone works at any age.
And how exactly does human growth hormone too? Because I noticed a significant increase, or I should say, a better quality of sleep, and that's always a big thing with sleep. Adding human growth hormone into your daily routine or your supplement protocol, how does it affect your sleep?
Growth hormone makes you sleepy. Now, if you take a very small amount, you might not notice it at all. It probably won't like. So with MK-677, it causes your body to produce a lot of growth hormone, but it's over a long period of time, like the entire day. But if you want to see acutely what happens if you have really high growth hormone levels, you inject a very large amount of growth hormone, you get very sleepy, and it's putting your
Correct.
body in the same state as a baby. Babies sleep all the time. Children sleep especially exceptionally long. They fall asleep easy. There's many reasons for this, but one of them is high growth hormone levels. And so, as an adult, if we take very high growth hormone, we are going to also feel sleepy. It's not a bad thing. It's
No.
not like sleepy because you have low energy. It's sleepy because your body's trying to tell you, okay, we've got a hormone in here that is intended to grow and recover our body. So let's go into a sleep state so that we can optimize our growth and recovery. And if you take it before bed, your sleep quality is going to massively improve. And it's not just deep sleep, not just REM sleep, because most sleep supplements out there, they only improve REM sleep, sometimes at the sacrifice of deep sleep, or improve deep sleep at the sacrifice of REM sleep. Growth hormone is one of the very few supplements or things or hormones that improve both deep and REM sleep for overall much higher quality sleep, which also results in more recovery.
Yes, and think about, like, when you're growing and you're recovering, just like you said with babies, that's why they're sleeping so much. So a lot of people say when they're taking MK-677, oh, it makes me lethargic, it makes me tired. Well, that just explained their question right there. Now, what
And
about when it comes to
if we,
hair
but
growth?
if we didn't want to experience the sleepiness from MK677 during the daytime, it's very simple. We just take it before bed. Of course,
Hmm.
it's going to cause some growth hormone release during the day, but the bulk of the growth hormone is going to be released in that first 12 hours when we're mostly sleeping, and then improve our sleep quality. And also 10 milligrams, one capsule, it's not going to make you sleepy or hungry. But you take 40 milligrams, and okay, now you're going to be super
Yeah.
hungry, super sleepy. So you can control it by the dosage very easily.
And now, also too, when it comes to human growth hormone, it also aids in hair growth, skin quality, nails, and that's always a big thing too, right? Like, have you noticed? I think one of the reasons why I've maintained my hair for what I have is probably part reason is because I do supplement growth hormone. I know for me, I noticed hair growth got, like, my beard got much thicker, my skin quality got much better. At the age of 40 years old, I would say that we're not doing too bad, Tony.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So each one of these things, like hair growth, for example, there's so many different pathways that affect hair growth. If you're deficient in biotin or some other nutrient that's required for hair growth, then taking growth hormones not going to help that. Or if you've got really high DHT and your hair's falling out because of the high DHT, it's not going to help that. But it is a pathway. So if someone has low growth hormone and they add growth hormone, they're going to notice more hair growth. And as we get older, since our growth hormone decreases, pretty much everybody's hair quality could benefit from a little bit of growth hormone.
excellent. So we really just talked about right there. We recapped what human growth hormone does and taking let's say, sub-Q human growth hormone. Now, the real question here, does MK-677 do all those things that we just spoke about that injecting human growth hormone could do?
Yes. MK-677 causes your body to release growth hormone in quite a large amount, dosage dependent. 10 milligrams is still very significant. One pill, significant growth hormone release, more effective than any other over-the-counter supplement to increase growth hormone by far. And then 40 milligrams is ridiculous, increased growth hormone so much. And it's actually better than injectable growth hormone, because injectable growth hormone is synthetic. It's made in a laboratory. And there's actually slightly different types of growth hormone that your body releases. And there is some risk that when you're using synthetic growth hormone, your body can recognize it as synthetic. Doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes it could be a serious problem. But with MK-677, we're causing our body to release its own natural growth hormone. It's like a testosterone booster that boosts testosterone, but it's a growth hormone booster that boosts growth hormone. It's absolutely miraculous. And it's just as good as injectable growth hormone for all the benefits, but it also doesn't have any of the risks associated with synthetic growth hormone.
Well, let's really talk about that. So what's the big difference between injecting HGH and taking MK-677? You spoke about MK-677 as a secretagogue, so it's telling your own pituitary gland to produce more growth hormone. So it's really a natty plus supplement if you really think about it, because your body is naturally producing more growth hormone, where if you were sub-Qing HGH, let's say from pens or whatever, you're injecting actual human growth hormone into your body, where that would be exogenous, and putting it into your body. So MK-677 is telling your own body to produce more growth hormone. So when it comes to comparing those two to one single thing, now you said MK-677 takes a little bit longer in your body, so what is the real comparable difference between the two? Because it seems like the pros and the cons are very similar.
The biggest difference is the active life and half-life. The growth hormone injection, the pharmaceutical growth hormone, let's say it lasts 4 hours. I mean, it's a curve. So, there's still going to be some growth hormone left over 7 hours, but let's say the bulk of it is during this 4-hour period of time. The MK-677 is going to cause, and it also has a curve, but let's say the active life of the MK-677 may look more like something 14 hours, 18 hours, 20 hours. So that's not necessarily a good thing. I'm just saying it causes your growth hormone levels to rise faster and stay higher longer than injectable growth hormone. Whether that's good or not depends on the situation. For fat loss, MK-677 is actually more effective, because the growth hormone it requires less growth hormone for fat loss than it does for muscle building or other things. And you want to have growth hormone levels sustained for a longer period of time for fat loss. But it depends on the situation. You just have to be aware that the windows of time that these things are active is the main difference.
Okay. And now another question that I see constantly also, and I think people are a little wary about, is because we talk about, now, and I think the problem here and where the confusion comes from is people, when they think, oh, TRT, you start taking testosterone, right? You're putting it into your body. It's going to tell your own body. Your body is not going to continue to produce testosterone to a degree. It might a little bit, whatever, but it's going to shut you down, just like a lot of other supplements, anabolics, charms, and things like that can really shut you down. Now, does MK-677 shut you down? Do you need a PCT after taking MK-677? Like, do you need to take a PCT?
MK-677 doesn't shut you down. Don't need a PCT. But the reason why some people might think that is because if you inject growth hormone, then your body will stop producing growth hormone. But it's for a very short window of time. So growth hormone in general, whether it's injected or MK-677, is not going to cause any long-term suppression of our natural growth hormone. But the MK-677 is actually stimulating our body to produce its own growth hormone. So it's actually the opposite of suppressing our growth hormone. It's causing us to produce more growth hormone. And when we stop the MK-677, our body just goes right back to normal, just producing growth hormone itself without that stimulated increased. So it's like, here's the amount of growth hormone you produce. MK-677 causes you to produce this much growth hormone. When you stop taking MK-677, you just go right back to what your growth hormone levels were right before you took MK-677.
Excellent, excellent. Now, when it comes down to another question that I hear constantly too, and I think this is just the misinformation from the internet. A lot of people say, oh, well, does MK-677 affect your testosterone? Does it shut down your testosterone levels? And I can't see any reason why it would do that or how it would affect your testosterone levels. What do you think?
I could think of probably 5 different ways that MK-677 could impact testosterone, but it would be so small that it would be so insignificant. It'd be like the difference is if you like walked out in the sun for a minute and walked back or something. Like little things that you do throughout the day affect your testosterone. You know,
Correct.
like whether you just close your eyes for a couple minutes and rest, that's going to maybe make your testosterone go up like a tiny bit. Whether you eat a little bit more protein or not, maybe you affect your testosterone a little bit. Same thing with MK. It's going to affect your testosterone a little bit for better and for worse. It's through different mechanisms of action, but it's so insignificant, I wouldn't even factor it in.
Okay, and now another big thing too that you hear constantly, and it can, a lot of people with MK-677, they're worried about insulin resistance. Now, long periods of having high, blood glucose levels can result in insulin resistance. But just because if you do have insulin resistance doesn't mean you're type 2 diabetes. And what I constantly hear on the internet is MK-677 is going to give you type 2 diabetes. Long periods, months, bad diet, things of that nature, very high blood glucose levels over a long period of time can result in insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is completely compatible. But does MK-677 make you insulin resistant? And also, how does that work with the insulin in your body, and how could you possibly combat that?
Yeah, MK-677 or growth hormone in general is going to cause your body to become, while you're on it, this is not long term, this is just while it's in your system, is going to cause your body to be a little bit less responsive to insulin, like temporarily insulin resistant. But it just depends on so many factors. That's not a good thing. Like, this is a negative side of MK-677, but it's very temporary while you're on it. The problem is if someone chronically elevated their growth hormone levels all day, every day, with no break, in conjunction with other things that harm their insulin sensitivity, then it could start getting to the point of being a problem. But this is not something we commonly see because usually you're doing so many things to offset it. But what's happening is your blood sugar is going to increase on MK-677 because your own insulin's working less well. And your body then tries to produce more insulin to try to get your blood sugar down. And the more insulin your body produces, it stresses out your pancreas. And then long term, like this is what happens over a long period of time at too high dosages. Long term, your pancreas beta cells that are responsible for producing insulin, they get fatigued, they get tired over time, they produce less insulin.
Which would be
now your blood sugar goes up more, and the insulin sensitivity decreases more, and it's just like a downward spiral. But there's so many ways to fix this along the way and prevent these side effects. It's really not significant if you just have a little bit of good information.
And one of the biggest things that you can use to combat that is slim pills from Enhanced Labs, because it's going to really help keep your blood glucose levels stable throughout the day. And
so far, all of my experiments where someone was using MK-677 and we threw in slim pills to increase insulin sensitivity, it's been able to offset the insulin desensitization of MK-677 100% of the time. So we've completely solved the MK-677 side effect of insulin insensitivity with slim pills. It was that simple.
Yeah, it's that simple. And I do it myself, and I've been using slim pills for years. Now, also another question and concern that I hear when you hear about when the cons, and it's really MK-677, as we know, can cause water retention. And what's the reason why it can cause water retention?
Well, higher growth hormone levels causes water retention. It
Correct.
affects your mineral balance, and water retention, inside the muscle cells is actually a very good thing. It helps you build
It
muscle
is.
and recover faster. But water retention around the heart is very bad for your heart, and water retention around your organs is bad for your organs. And water retention also increases your blood pressure and affects your kidneys, therefore. So water retention can be a very unhealthy thing. In fact, I think a lot of people are having a lot of health consequences from high water retention and blood pressure and don't realize it. But it's also something fairly easy to mitigate. And we see this with the higher and higher dosages over longer periods of time. We just don't see any relevant water retention with responsible, mindful use of MK-677.
Yeah, I mean, so I really think I hear a lot of comments too. Is like, oh, MK-677 increased my blood pressure. Well, no. Secondarily, it might have increased your blood pressure because of the water retention, but the
Yeah.
primary, the human growth hormone won't directly affect your blood pressure. It would be, in my opinion, the result of the water retention. The more water you
Right.
retain, the more chance of you having higher blood pressure. So it's an indirect result from
Right.
the MK677 or HGH. Now, when we're talking about personal use, and like we said, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not for medical advice or any other thing. We're not giving you doses. How do you personally use MK677?
Yeah, let's think about this week, for example. I could go back to how I used it in the past to prepare for bodybuilding competitions or for anti-aging, but let's think about this week. So as I get older, my appetite is lower. Now I can eat garbage foods like pizza and ice cream. I could eat a huge amount of calories, but when I want to eat healthy food like this right here, I don't have as much appetite as I used to. And in order to maintain this amount of muscle, I actually don't have to work out very much, but I have to eat enough to maintain this. And I will lose a lot of weight if I just go along with my appetite. So I have to increase my appetite. So that's totally separate from the benefits of MK677, increasing growth hormone for building muscle and burning fat and all that. Okay, but another reason I use it to prevent fat storage. So I like to go to the sushi buffet, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to eat my money's worth unless I had the increased appetite from MK677. But I actually really enjoy eating a huge amount of food, especially like go to the gym, then go to the buffet. It's one of my favorite things to do, high quality sushi buffet. The problem is, if you eat a lot of food in one setting, then you can't store it all fast enough into your muscles, or your muscle glycogen storage will get full, and you'll spill over into fat, which has health consequences. Like anytime you overeat and your body stores as fat, it's not just making you fat, it also has health consequences from that process.
Of
So
course.
I want to block the storage of fat, which is just as good as burning fat later. Like, why burn a pound of fat later when I can prevent a pound of fat storage today and prevent the health consequences of that? So I use the MK677 for also eating foods. Like at night, for example, sometimes I want to just snack and snack and snack. It's a pleasure thing. Take MK677. I'm not going to store those calories as fat, but I combine it with the Slim pills because it wouldn't be healthy to just increase my growth hormone significantly and eat a ton of food and let my blood sugar skyrocket. I use
Mhm.
the Slim pills to then put the carbs in my muscle, get my blood sugar down so that I don't have health consequences of the high blood sugar. Also, I use it for, I actually want the water retention. So sometimes my muscles feel a little bit flat and I want them to
Mhm.
feel full and tight
Yeah.
and
Pump
strong.
up.
So the
Yep.
MK677 gives me that feeling in the muscles, that full feeling. I like it. And then so I take it before the gym also. I take it before the gym sometimes to prevent the catabolic effects of training so that there's less non-productive muscle damage and more productive muscle damage to recover from, which makes it easier to recover. Like, yes, you can take growth hormone after the workout. That's when the recovery happens. But if we take it before the workout and we don't break down our muscle in a non-productive way, that's less burden on the body. I think of it as an anti-aging thing. Like, I'm not breaking down my body just to break it down. I'm breaking it down to stimulate the recovery and the benefits that come from it. So I want to mitigate the catabolic breakdown during the workout. And then if I take MK-677 before the workout, I'm hungry after the workout. I want to eat more healthy food, like I talked about before, and I'll have faster recovery from the workout. And it's not that I'm not working out that frequently. I don't really need the faster recovery, but it's just like the less muscle soreness. I just feel better the next day. As I get older, I don't recover quite as well as I used to when I was 18 years old. But if I'm on MK-677, I recover like I'm 18 years old again.
Yeah. So how long would you, let's say not you, if you were doing MK-677 as a cycle, how long would you run it for? And when would you expect to see some of the results from it?
I experimented a lot on myself with different protocols, MK-677, and my clients. And I found, and I think this is starting to become an industry standard, because most people, I'll say what most people are doing that I think goes wrong. They were taking it for like 2 months on, 2 months off. I think that's a huge mistake in the way to use MK-677. And that's how everybody was doing it before. I think I revolutionized it, and I think everybody's, who's in the know is now doing this, and the coaches are now promoting this. But I'll tell you the drawback of going 2 months on MK-677, over time, you're going to lose sensitivity and you're going to build up water retention and insulin resistance if you're not using slim pills. And when you take 2 months off of MK-677, you only needed like a few days or a week off MK-677 to get rid of the water retention and to resensitize to it. So now you're taking all this time off of MK that you could have been on it and getting massive benefits from it. I noticed that if we just did 5 days on and 2 days off, we don't lose our sensitivity to it.
Really?
The water retention just comes off on any small amount of water retention. That small amount of water retention just falls off those 2 days that we come off MK-677. And then we resensitize. So then we can just do like Monday through Friday on, Saturday, Sunday off, or preferably I would like to be on it on the weekend, because on the weekend I want to eat more food. And actually I prefer to train on the weekend than the weekdays. So like back when I had a more Monday to Friday schedule. So yeah, I do 5 days on, 2 days off of the MK-677. It doesn't have to be that. It could be 1 week on, 3 days off. It could be 2 weeks on, 4 days off. But the whole point is we don't have to do time on equals time off. And it doesn't take as long to come off. Like people think because of running steroids or something, you should run MK-677 the same way. It's like the opposite. Time on equals time off for steroid cycles. That's where people got this from originally for the MK-677 before we did the experiments to find a more optimal approach. But now I think everybody knows we can take less time off, and more frequent breaks helps it work more effectively, less desensitization, less possible aggregating of any potential side effect.
Excellent. So now let's not get too crazy with this. Let's keep this basic and simple. What would be your favorite simple stack with MK-677? Let's say for just bulking, for instance.
Yeah, so I made the enhanced muscle matrix, formerly the anabolic matrix, that breaks down all the different pathways to muscle growth. And the first pathway is the androgen receptor. And it's actually like the third pathway that is the growth hormone, or fourth pathway that's the growth hormone. So these other pathways work synergistically with growth hormone to build muscle. And so I would just take something from each of these pathways. So slim pills, for example, is the first thing I would take with MK-677 because it's very directly synergistic. 1 + 1 = 3 in this situation. The growth hormone is causing your body to release calories. The insulin is causing you to uptake more calories, but into the muscle, not into the fat. The MK-677 is causing blood sugar to increase. The slim pills is bringing it back down to a healthy level. The slim pills is mitigating the increased blood sugar for health purposes. And they're both working together to prevent the storage of fat. And therefore, where does it go? If it doesn't go into fat, well, hopefully you've also stimulated the muscle more, and it's going to go significantly more into the muscle. And then next, I'd be looking at the androgen receptor. So I'd make sure that our testosterone levels were at least normal. And then I would be looking into SARMs, or things to naturally boost testosterone, like Blue Ox, Black Ox testosterone booster, 3-AD, the prohormone that actually increases testosterone, or a SARM that has little to no side effects, like AC262 is my first choice.
Yep.
And then the other column would be estrogen, but you increase testosterone, usually increase estrogen. Plus, these pathways that I designed is like with bodybuilding in mind as well. When bodybuilders, we want to increase estrogen more than the normal person, so we don't need to worry about that so much. So I'd say it's mostly the androgen receptor, like I said, the testosterone or SARM and or SARM, and the Slin pills, and plus the MK-677. And then another common one to stack it with, like a common SARMs protocol cycle, would be stack it with cardarine, which is not a muscle builder whatsoever, but it does enhance the fat loss and increase the energy, which helps you train harder and just be more effective and burn more calories.
And it can also combat, sometimes they say one of the cons of MK-677 is with the, lethargic feeling. We talked a lot about the pros, and we really get to, like, with some of the cons is a lot of people feel that you could have a really lethargic feeling while on it, feeling very tired. Like we spoke about the possible water retention, which is, water going into your muscles, and your muscles are going to hold more water, which in result will turn into more muscle growth. We touched on the insulin resistance, and we really talked about a lot of the pros. Now, what can you expect to see and achieve from using MK-677? Let's say, because a lot of people are like, I've been taking MK-677 for a week or two and I don't see any difference. You're not going to. It's going over what period of time, and what are you going to expect, and what are you going to see and achieve from using MK-677 in a quick breakdown?
Yeah, MK-677 is definitely a more long-term play, but it does have immediate benefits. Maybe you're not seeing like instantly your skin looks better, instant fat loss. It's definitely working though. I mean, biologically, it's like math and science. It's absolutely working. But this is a common complaint actually in bodybuilders that start growth hormone, because they think growth hormone is the miracle in it's going to make the difference. They start steroids and they add on growth hormone. They think, that's what makes the difference in a bodybuilder. But they don't realize, like, it comes 6 months later when they look in the mirror and they're like, oh, wow, now I understand.
Seeing the muscle, the mature muscle starting to grow, the maturity of the muscle, the growth and stuff like that. Even same thing with human growth hormone. It's, a lot of people take human growth hormone. They're like, well, you're not going to see, but wait a year later, and then you're going to see the difference in your muscle development and everything else, your skin, your hair, things. I saw a big difference in my skin and my hair, and I'm starting to see, I've been using it probably for about a year now with MK-677, and I'm starting to really see that my muscle is starting to mature finally, and we'll see too.
But the ones who are going to see an instant difference are like the guys who are training really hard. They're overtraining and they're not recovering properly.
Mm-hmm.
And then they add in the MK-677, and all of a sudden they're recovering faster and they're actually growing muscle instead of just maintaining. That can be very significant. Within 1 week, they can notice a big difference with MK. And the MK causes that little bit of water retention in the muscle, which is a good thing. And so that can feel really good, and that can look really good too, potentially. And also the fat loss takes a little bit of time. And because there is just a tiny bit of water retention, what's happening is you're losing fat, but you're gaining a little bit of water. And then later the water comes off, and then you see the results of the fat loss.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think
you can get the water off faster. You can take things to get the water off faster.
Diuretics or whatever it may be, things to lower your blood pressures and to relieve water. Now, there are a lot of people too, as you touched, and I'm glad you touched about it too, is MK-677 and human growth hormone will also aid in fat loss and burning too. Now, if you were a 350-pound person, I don't know if MK-677 would be the greatest thing to throw on. But for the average day run-of-the-mill person, I think it could definitely help aid in fat loss.
For the 350-pound person, a couple things. Number one, they're probably already a little bit insulin resistant.
Correct.
So we got to be careful of that. But Slin pills is a solution. Number two, water retention becomes exponentially bad and more dangerous the fatter we are. Let's see. Number three, if someone's that fat, they're probably not that physically active, and unfortunately, maybe they're not going to get the full benefit of MK-677, like the recovery benefit they could get if they were working out, which is too bad. And there's a couple other ones, like maybe even they're more lethargic, and MK-677 could possibly add to the lethargy.
Increase your appetite also. going to make you more
What?
hungry. MK-677 is also going to make
Hungry.
you
That
more
was I was
hungry.
building up. That's the grand
Yeah,
climax. Yeah, make you
you're going
more
to gain more
hungry.
weight.
But the 350-pound person, if they took MK-677 before bed and improved their sleep quality and didn't wake up and eat snacks
Control
because
their
they were
hunger,
hungry, they're
appetite.
going to burn more fat at night. They're going to be able to also, if you stack the MK-677 with the cardarine and the Slin pills, this is an amazing fat loss combination. Now, with the synergy of these, becomes very effective for the 350-pound
Mm-hmm.
person. Now they can go on an extreme caloric restriction diet and still have energy and still feel good, because the MK-677 is going to cause the body to release the stored body fat to use as energy. The cardarine is going to help the body relearn how to use fat for energy, because the 350-pound person's body forgot how to use fat for energy. It's addicted to carbs. And they're going to regain insulin sensitivity more as they lose fat and be more physically active, because the cardarine is going to give them more energy to be able to be more physically active. So those three together is a magical fat loss
Correct.
combination.
So really, MK-677 could be used for bulking or cutting, depending on your diet and how you control things and what you're using or what you're doing. It could really be used in both aspects. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very versatile. Anti-aging, building muscle, burning fat, injury or overall recovery.
Okay, so really now this was a great breakdown video of MK677 from SwissChems. Now, why is MK677 from SwissChems.is superior to other MK677s on the market? What makes it superior?
It works. It just works. It is what it says it is. I've reviewed the HPLC testing or LCMS testing as well, and it's pure. Doesn't have heavy metals. Doesn't have any bad additives, and it's just quality and pure, and works not only from the lab report but also from all my clients that use it. Of course, 100% positive feedback.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Tony, and thank you for breaking down MK677, really getting to the nitty gritty with it and really explaining and showing people what MK677 is and what it does and how it works and all about it. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. And more videos to come with Tony and I on other supplements and protocols, etc. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. And hey, Rob, a day natural is a day wasted.
You wasted.